Hello,
Hey, Aiden, how you doing?
John. What's up, brother? How are you?
Man, I am having a pretty good day.
Oh,
I
same
cannot
here.
complain. I try to live in the present and appreciate every day above dirt is a good day.
Oh, hell yeah. Oh yeah. I apologize in advance. I don't have my camera today.
Oh, no worries.
Let me just say right off the bat, my friend. My eye is caught on the American flag back there, and looks like some collectibles. What is that?
I did 23 years in the Army, and what you see up here is the Army has a tradition. Actually, a lot of the services do, but they have a tradition of giving these coins. Um, and Let me see here real quick. I'll show you. So in 23 years, whenever you, and like if this coin here,
Uh-huh.
um, this happens to be, this was awarded from a four-star general. His name was Eric Shinseki. He actually was a presidential appointee. I think he still is. But
Wow.
I worked for him as when he was a one-star general, and I was a company commander. I was a captain, and so
Wow.
those that is a wood flag made by a friend of mine. She does that as a hobby, and I bought it to support her business, and I've got about I think it's about I want to say 78 coins in there. So it's kind
Wow.
of cool. It's a neat. It's a good conversation starter.
Bro, you're a rock star. I'm so thank you so much for, serving our country. And I'm super proud of America and to live here. And I mean, it's the best country in the world. I mean, you know
It
that.
is. It is.
um,
I Go ahead.
yeah, I just want to say it's nuts. I'm really honored to be talking with you right now.
Well, I appreciate it, and I have to be honest, Aiden. When I looked at what you do specifically, I didn't necessarily see a great fit, but I after watching Gary Vee's piece, I've been following Gary for at least a couple of years,
Yeah,
um, and and I don't agree with everything he says and does. Like many influencers, he's got his
right.
way of doing things, but um, I was just I am uh, as a leader, I've always been, um, I guess, categorized as a team builder,
Sure.
and I I love people who have the natural grit and tenacity to overcome adversity, and that's kind of what you and Fuishis talked about,
Agreed.
briefly on the tail end of that on that podcast interview, and uh, I I wanted to kind of what I thought I'd do is take a couple of minutes, if you don't mind, to explain this project. And it doesn't have anything to do with the stuff that you normally do,
Yeah.
but marketing is marketing, and I thought
Yeah.
what I'd do is
Well, so first let me just share that.
mhm.
Yeah. So I'm very niche into the green industry and the landscaping market. However, I've been doing this for about 9 years now,
Mhm.
and I love strategy. I mean, obviously, I follow Gary. Biz dev strategy is a big thing of mine. So I can work with anyone theoretically.
Right.
We are just doing a very good job in a niche, and I'm using this as a vehicle to carry me into what I really want to do, which is a marketing media company that services everyone and the whole adversity thing, blah blah blah, right? But there's a few things in the way of getting to that: financials, some personal things in life due to my disability, that are just more roadblocks. Nothing that can't be knocked down, but it's just a matter of time and patience. Hence the patient pig thing. Uh, but yeah, so I am more than happy to hear what you have to say, what you're doing, and anything I can do to help, gladly.
Well, and likewise, if there is anything that I can do, and you'll kind of see as I explain a little bit about what I'm going to do, where I'm coming from, because um, I've been on a personal quest for about the last 3 years of just self development. Despite the fact that I, um, had a successful Army career and
Yep.
retired, and so on and so forth. Um, there were some things lacking in my life, so I took it upon myself to really chart a new course. And in um, December of 2018, no, 17, December of 2017, I read a manifesto to my kids and my daughter-in-law and said, "Hey, here's what I'm going to do." And the goal was to try and do more in the next 10 years, from the ages of 60 to 70, because I'm 62 now, than I did in the first 59 years. And specifically, I am a youth sports advocate. I host a podcast called For the Good of the Game, that's a football podcast. Um, and the new project is related to that. So I charted this new course, and over the course of the 3 years, 19, 20, 18, 19, and 20, I read 100 books. I uh, developed, some of those books were things like, James Clear and Atomic Habits, and things that would help me get to be a better version of myself.
Right.
Um, and I decided that what I wanted to do and the purpose of my life, it's kind of weird, if you don't mind me asking, how old are you?
I am 27 in August.
Okay. So I've got, and that's not relevant to our discussion. I just want to know from an experience standpoint,
Right.
so I can make a comparison. I've got 4 kids, 4 adult children. My daughter's 27 and my sons are 28, 32, and 34. And I didn't really discover the no shit answer to what my life's purpose was until I was 55.
Right.
So when I see people your age doing what you're doing, and I tend to look at things a little different. I appreciate the fact that you're candid about your situation with which what you call a disability. I call it a superpower.
I agree.
I think that when someone is in your situation and they can achieve what you have just to now, even though you have bigger dreams than where you are now, I truly believe that's a superpower. Despite what most people might visually see and look at and say, "Wow, that guy, oh, sorry about that," and all that kind of stuff. I think you have taken that and done what so many folks in your situation have done, and really turned it into their advantage, if you will.
I agree.
And there are, for every person with a true disability, there are 150, if not more, and that's just a number I pulled out
Yeah.
of my left
Yeah. Yeah.
ear, who are able-bodied people who don't ever achieve anything, and because they get into the pity party and become a
Right.
victim.
So let me chime in because you're getting me excited.
Yeah,
I don't mean to
please.
cut you off. So this plays into the whole adversity model in my life, and even Gary
Mm-hmm.
touched on it on the podcast. He said, "Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on 1 second. Alexa, stop." Gary mentioned something along the lines of when you're faced with adversity, there's two options to take, and they're both very extreme, right? You can either consider yourself a victim and fall into that whole mindset, or you can take it to a whole nother place of excellence. And that is what I want to do long term is guide people away from the victimhood and into the excellence side of it, right? And I truly
That's awesome.
feel that adversity is that um, fork in the road to where you decide. You know what I mean? And it's really just a matter of choice. I can very easily play the victim and live the rest of my life on government funds and playing video games and shit, right? And being depressed and sad or whatever. Very easily. Like any shift in my mind could put me there. Um, so what you're preaching is aligned directly with what my beliefs and my core values, just packaged in a different wrapping paper, right?
I absolutely love that, and I can tell you that. what I'm planning will take that type of audacity. What I'm doing, let me just cut to the chase and tell you
Go for it.
what I've done. I'm going to start a second podcast. I probably shot myself in the foot a bit because I said about a month ago or 2 weeks ago I was going to start the podcast a week from today, and it's called Changing Youth Sports. I am an advocate for youth sports at many levels. I coached all four of my kids when they were growing up. And I believe that coming through the pandemic, and you can look at, for instance, the State of Play 2020 State of Play report from the Aspen Institute, we lost a little bit more momentum than was already being lost prior to COVID, in that a lot of kids are just giving up on sports. Statistically, 70% of kids in the United States stop playing youth sports by the age of 13.
Wow.
And it is, and that doesn't even get into, the other piece that has blown up in the last 2 decades, which is the Paralympic piece. Through Special Olympics for kids and Paralympics, all the way to what's going to happen in Tokyo. So I don't want to start a podcast. I want to start a movement.
Sure.
I believe that out of the 7.5 billion people in the world, despite the fact that there are many, maybe hundreds, I don't know, organizations that promote youth sports and movement and well-being, I believe that there are a crap ton of them that do not know about these organizations. And what I want to do is be a connector or a facilitator.
Mm-hmm.
I've had multiple people on my podcast in the last year and a half that I believe I put into a category of called allies of change. And these are folks whose businesses are they're in the business of prosecuting a new normal, although I choose to call it a better normal. I think,
Right.
everybody's saying whatever the new normal is. Well, our normal before COVID, in many cases, wasn't all that great.
Yeah.
68% of America is overweight. We are constantly marketed to by special interest groups, and I'm not a zealot or a hater, publicly.
Sure.
I'm not into politics overtly at all. I just believe that the American people kind of get brainwashed into, you can look at the way any grocery store is designed. And if you shop on the outskirts or the ends of the aisle,
Right.
all you're doing is feeding the fat,
Yes.
So,
It's the intent.
yeah, exactly. So, for me, what I want to do is I don't want it to be just a podcast or a conversation. I want it to be a movement. And I want to be able to promote these allies of change. And they're groups like the Changing the Game Project with John O'Sullivan, A Better Way Athletics with Heath Esslinger, working with parents in sports in the UK, Gordon McClelland, and all of those guys I've had on my podcast. And they have their own followings nationally and internationally.
Right.
But I want to help promote as I get this message out, because there are parents out there right now struggling with trying to get their kids involved, both kids that might be considered by society standards able-bodied, as well as kids with disabilities. So
Sure.
there are, there are a number of different levels, and I just think that it's certainly a bigger project than I can take on by myself. I do not necessarily, and this goes back kind of to what you were talking about or hinting at a minute ago with your bigger project, your bigger goals. I don't have a team. I mean, right now it's me, myself, and I, and it's most of the money in my company, which is JD Sports Academy. I've had that LLC going for years, and
Right.
it's served me well. Although I'm getting ready to shut it down when I move, and I'm going to start a new company in Texas when I open up that'll be called Changing Youth Sports. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. I mean, the idea is, have you heard of the Community app?
No, but it sounds interesting just with the name.
Well, there's a lot of people. Gary was the first person I saw using it, and Mel Robbins uses it. Brendan Burchard. There's a number of influencer type folks that use it, and what it is, is it's an app, and they issue you a third party number, and you can put that number out. You'll see people all the time on social media saying, text me at so and so, and it's a
Ah, okay.
platform that enables you to communicate with people, and you can segment your community and so on and so forth. I mean, I got in at the very base level. It's
Right.
I'm sure somebody that has hundreds of thousands of followers, it's a pretty expensive proposition because it ain't cheap.
Sure.
But that's one aspect, as well as I've already got a Facebook group created. I'm going to do the podcast. I own the URL Changing You Sports, so I can do both the company as well as a website, which I am working on now.
Hmm.
So it's the whole movement kind of thing, similar to what you talked about with adversity. And so I don't know, maybe it's worth exploring slowly over the future to see if there's some dynamism there.
I think either way, we're gonna collaborate, whatever that looks like. Who knows? Um, I think you're on. I mean, on the right track that I would recommend of kind of building that community and being the sort of the hub for resources in this specific niche, like you said, that connects people with the right organizations, or maybe just a little bit of um, mentorship in a way, teaching parents like why you should have your kid in sports, why it's declining, where the direction of our society is going in this realm, and why it's going to hurt it. I mean, I dig the whole message, right? I think the community is the biggest part of this. I mean, it really is in most businesses, just not my niche of green industry. But for example, I'm even building a community now of green industry professionals called the Green Industry Gang,
Hmm.
and we just started like a week ago and already have like 300 members. And it's really because I already have the community and the followers. It's just they're not solidified into a legit community. And when
Right.
you have the attention in the community, you can really do whatever you want, and they're going to follow you. And obviously, you have to be ethical what you're putting out, and they'll feel your intent, right, and then be a follower for life. So I think social media will play a big role in that for you. I think your podcast, and again, like we both watch Gary Vee, so we're kind of on the same page here. So I'm not sure what I could do to help you besides maybe some strategic value, or even being on your podcast or talking or whatever. I do have a staff of 15 of content writers, social media people, website developers, artists. I mean, you name it, we're here to stay, right, for the long term.
Hmm.
So whatever my team and my resources can do for you, I am more than happy to help. Again, even if that's just me, like doing little things here and there, or even being an auditor of what you're doing. If you want to show me a website you put out or whatever, I can take a look at it, give my feedback. Um, so yeah, I mean, I definitely would love to establish a relationship here and see where it can go. And I would love to be a part of what you're doing. Like, I totally agree with the message. Um, you seem like a really great person, very self aware, and continuing to self develop even at the age of 62, which, by the way, you look great for 62. It's kind of crazy, dude.
Thank you. I
Um,
appreciate it.
but that's the thing. It's like self development. It never stops.
Right.
People may like it to stop and make an excuse, but it never stops. We build this hero archetype for ourselves, and we never get to it. I mean, it just continuously gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Nobody's perfect, but the more you strive to be towards that, the better of a person you're going to be. The more you're going to be able to help other people. And for me, that's really what it's about: is helping others and building a legacy. Um, and you seem like the type of person to that fits the mold of bet on the jockey, not the horse. type of deal. So I would help you with whatever you do, regardless.
Well, I genuinely appreciate the kind words, and I definitely and I felt this really after I got what I did when my I inundate my kids with stuff to listen to, and the
Hmm.
reality is my youngest son, who's on his way here now, and my daughter, um, really both stay so busy that have neither one has necessarily a desire uh, to listen to a lot of content. Now,
Sure.
when I'm traveling, it doesn't matter if I'm going to. I live in Elizabethtown, Kentucky, south of Louisville, and
Oh
if
man, no way. Hold on, let me stop you because
yeah,
in October there is a very big expo. You probably heard of it, the GIE Expo. Um,
I have not. Go ahead.
oh, really? Well, at the end of October every year, the Green Industry Expedition is hosted in Louisville, Kentucky, and it's the biggest one in the world for landscapers.
Hmm.
So we go there every year, and there's about 25,000 people. So we will be there this year with a booth and about 10 of our team members. Just gonna go there and dominate and blow shit up. So you're right around the corner. So we're definitely gonna have to get together, my friend.
Well, I tell you what. If depending on how the end of this year goes, my mom and dad are both still living, and they are my dad already turned 81. My mom does so in September,
What a
and
blessing.
yeah, really, my dad has dementia pretty bad, um, and it's not. He physically is okay,
Sure.
um, but it's to the point now where we begin to worry about him driving and doing things that could put himself or somebody else at risk. And my mom, unfortunately, is very sharp mentally, but her body's breaking down. So it's a she kind of jokes and says, if you could just put the two of us together, you'd have a whole person. And I said, well, the fact that you're both still around is more important to me. And my wife and I are in the process of we're going to physically move out to Texas and help take care of their affairs for the short term.
That's
Don't know
beautiful.
how long we'll be out there. Um, because I was out there in September and again in May, and in that span of time, Aiden, my mom aged 5 years. I mean, it's just
Right.
unreal, and it's hard for her to keep up. And I'm sure, um, given your situation, you have folks that assist you on a daily basis and
I do.
stuff, and it's the kind of thing where um, there are sometimes you want the help, and there's other times you don't. And
Right.
for her, that applies definitely.
Oh
So
yeah.
I want,
I
go ahead.
have 24/7 care, right, of
Hmm.
a actual professional. And I tell, my family, my friends all the time, like, look, I know you're more than happy to help me, but I just want to keep that relationship separate because there's going to be times to where, you're not in the right mood or the mindset. And I don't want to be that guy that kind of forces you to do something. And the
Hmm.
other thing too is like, I don't want to mix the relationship and the feelings. As I use the example of if I want to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and go to Taco Bell, like I don't want to feel any remorse of asking you to do that. And so I totally understand your situation, and I'm sure your parents would love to have you there, and it's also like that time that you would spend with them is so valuable towards the last chapter, right?
Oh, absolutely. Everybody, we have people that come into our life for a reason and people that come into our life for a season. And the season that they're in right now obviously is maybe it's the fall or winter, I don't know, but it's we're leaving my middle son and daughter-in-law and two grandkids here, and my son's in the Army at Fort Knox, and we will not see them as often, but I have many more opportunities to see them in coming years than I will to see my folks. So um,
Right.
I just I've got to say, while it's on my heart and my mind at the same time, I have a tremendous amount of respect and admiration for what you are doing and what you've achieved, um, regardless of your physical situation. But the fact that you are a champion uh, of the things that are important to you, given your situation, to me makes it even more impressive. So I definitely would offer the same thing as you get the adversity piece going. If there's anything I can do from a speaking standpoint or to help out in any way, I would love to collaborate on that because I think it is, there's are you familiar by any chance with Your World Within, Eddie Pinero?
I am not.
Okay, he's as you could tell, I consume a lot of content. I'm usually in the gym for about an hour to 2 hours every morning, and if I'm on the treadmill or I'm stretching, I'm usually listening to somebody that I can learn from.
Right.
And that was the case in Gary's case. I was listening to his podcast when I was on the treadmill,
Right.
and Eddie Pinero is a guy who used to be a crewman. He was a rower in college, and he started this YouTube. He became a YouTuber, and he's blown up. And one of one of the quotes that I got from him is he said, "Wanting to live, wishing for an easy life is oxygen to a victim mentality." And I just think that
Powerful
is
stuff.
it is super powerful because I think it's Les Brown used to say it's I don't mean to be talking in cliches, but he used to say, if you want an easy life, do hard things. If you want a hard life, do easy things.
Right.
And I think that um, you know too many people in many different situations uh, just just play the victim. That's
Yep.
it. So
Yeah. I
anyway.
mean, so a couple things. Like
Mhm.
I'm, I share the feelings that you feel towards me. I feel the exact same towards you, my friend. I mean, the amount of respect that I have for you for the amount of time that you've served for our country and the admiration of you to be aware enough to be like, hey, I've given basically half of my life to my country. I'm not even near fully developed. I need to focus on myself. That in itself is like huge. I mean, we got people that ignore that every day, right? And their
Yeah.
own selves. So props to you for seeing that. And my other point is life is hard regardless of what route you take. It's very difficult I mean, the majority, for everyone, really. I mean, everybody faces adversity in some way, shape, or form,
Sure.
also perceived to them in some way, in different ways. Someone born with a luxury lifestyle right away, they struggle in a lot of ways that we would never understand, right? And to us, it might look easy, but to them, they have no other perspective to go off of. So it's like life is hard in general, but it's also extremely beautiful and abundant. And so it's just about the way you perceive it and your perspective and executing on that, right? And feeding yourself the right content, the right mental diet, uh, just making choices. And uh, I guess what I'm saying is like we just align so much on the same emotional wavelength that it's kind of crazy. And
Well, I'll tell you what I'd like to do. I can certainly, I'm working on a packet right now that I am going to send to each of these businesses that I'm calling the Allies of Change. And I'd love to float that past you and get your feedback. I love, there's another guy that I follow, and I love, he's a young man that grew up in apartheid South Africa. Um, and his dad was gunned down in front of him. His name is Vusi Tembakweyu.
jeez,
He he has done things as a black man in South Africa that people would have said for the last 50 years, you can't do that. And
right,
he has this deal. He says, all excuses are valid. He says, the more important thing is recognizing the excuse. What are you going to do to change yourself or the situation to overcome that?
correct.
And I think that I think a corollary to that is all feedback is valid. You have to decide which feedback is relevant. Everybody's going to have haters.
Agreed.
Um, And no matter what we do, as we put ourselves out there, um, people are going to have dissenting opinions, and so on and so forth. So I would love to get your feedback. I'll probably wrap that up at some point this weekend, and send you the draft. And I would very much love to, if we can, even though we're planning to be in Texas, we're going to leave our house for sale. Excuse me.
Hmm.
So we're going to have to come back when the house closes, and I will be traveling back here fairly frequently just because of my kids. So if I can make it during that conference, I would love to link up, and if I can support your efforts at the booth in any way, shape, or form, I'm happy to do that.
I'd love to hear that, my friend. It all sounds really good to me. Are you on Facebook? Do you have a Facebook
I,
account?
I am. I have a personal Facebook account, and then I've got a couple of groups as well.
Okay.
Um,
I just sent you my personal account.
okay.
That it's funny because everybody's like, "Where can I follow you?" And I'm like, "Bro, I don't have any. Like, I'm not building my personal brand right now, so I literally just have my personal Facebook, and that's where you can kind of get at me. So add me there,
Okay.
and let's stay in touch on there. I would love to. I mean, we can talk anytime. I really enjoyed this conversation. Really beautiful engagement, and it's kind of crazy what one podcast with Gary Vee can do for you. I mean, I got people reaching out like crazy, and another gentleman with the same disease as I have, spinal muscular atrophy, reached out to me. And he's like, "Hey, I saw your podcast with Gary. I have the same thing, SMA, and I own a marketing agency as well." And
Oh
I'm just
wow,
like, "Bro, well, this is kind of crazy."
it is.
Yeah, so it's really incredible what a community can do. Go figure, right?
That's it.
But yeah, let's definitely continue this combo and building a relationship and see where it takes us. And I actually loved this talk so much that I would like to ask you permission to use it for a podcast start up on YouTube if there's no sensitive information in here that you want to kind of keep.
No, not at all. I'd be honored.
All right,
Very
love
much
it,
so.
love it.
Okay.
Well, I will get that up too, and I'll send it to you when it's done. And um, let's keep in touch 100%.
Sounds great, Aiden. Thanks for taking the time, and I appreciate connecting. I feel the same way you do, and I'll look forward to what may happen in the future.
All right, brother. Appreciate
All
you
right.
so
Take
much.
care.
Later.
All
Bye.
right. Bye bye.